My name is Shayna, and I am interviewing Kathy because she is in the profession that I'm interested in, which is helping veterans. And this is Kathy.
Hi.
So, Kathy, can you tell me about the organization that you work for?
So I work for Volunteers of America of Greater Ohio, and we serve veterans across the state, and we help approximately on any given night about 350 veterans that are homeless. We house them, and we provide rapid rehousing services and employment services to veterans who are homeless or at risk of being homeless.
Okay, nice. And that you said that's across the whole
Across the
state?
state,
Okay.
Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati.
Okay. So how long have you worked there? And did you start out in the position you're in now?
So I've been with Volunteers of America for 8 years.
Okay.
And I started as a program director in Mansfield, Ohio. In 2008, I was promoted to director of program operations in 2012, and now I'm vice president of program operations for Veteran Services.
Nice. Who are your heroes, mentors, or role models?
That's a good question. So first and foremost is my mother.
Okay.
I mean, throughout my life, she's just been my hero and my cheerleader. And so my mother was a hard worker, very ambitious, and she worked her way up through her organization. And so I just wanted to follow in her footsteps.
Okay.
And in my career, I've had a few mentors, and one was when I was working in Detroit in my first professional job in human services. Her name is Barbara Sampson, and she was the executive director, and so she just kind of took me under her wing, and I learned as much as I could from her. And then when I moved to another organization, a woman by the name of Sharon Jamal, who taught me just so much about nonprofits and program management and personnel management.
Okay. So, do you have any like famous role models?
Famous role models. Let's see. I can't think of anybody famous.
Okay.
I have to think about that.
Okay. What made you choose the profession you are working in?
I think I just kind of fell into it
Okay.
because of my background and some of my experiences. I was in a position where I needed help from a human service organization,
Mm-hmm.
and so at that point, I decided that's what I wanted to do. I had been helped, so I wanted to help other people.
Give back.
So that's how I ended up helping others.
What changes have you seen as far as African Americans entering the profession that you're in?
Well, not much changes over the last 25 years, other than, I mean, there are a lot of African American females in human services. I've seen us rise to a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
middle management usually, but executive level, not many.
Okay.
Not many. We are entry level case managers and social workers, but as far as clinical supervisors and executive directors and program directors, there's still, there's still fewer
A gap.
than I would expect or I would like to see.
Okay. Do you notice any gap in like money wise as well?
You mean in pay?
Yeah.
Well, human services doesn't pay a lot anyway.
Yeah.
And so, so entry level, it's the pay is it's okay. I think that probably may be attributed more to the fact that females make less,
Yeah.
and so human services tends to draw more females
Right.
than males.
So, how does your profession and what you do tie into just like the whole Black experience, like your experiences as being an African American woman?
So, in working with veterans, it's mostly men.
Mm-hmm.
And so our primary population are adult men, primarily African American. And because the population is also homeless,
Mm-hmm.
in the state of Ohio, the homeless population is about 45% African American males.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that is blatantly clear is that African American males are not priority. For example, I'm part of a statewide planning committee to end homelessness in Ohio,
Okay.
and the focus is on, there's like 3 different populations they're targeting right now to end homelessness with, and that's youth, and that's families, and veterans. And what is apparent, because of the fact that 45% of the homeless population are African American males, that's not a target population, and so I question why.
They're just kind of
Right.
left behind.
I mean, everybody knows it. It's like, oh, okay, but it's still
no
not
one's doing anything about
not
it.
looking directly at the systems that impact that, why that is, because it goes much deeper than,
Right.
they're just homeless. So,
Exactly.
looking at unemployment and, the fact that, so many African American males end up in jail, and then that becomes an employment barrier, and
Right.
so on and so forth. So,
There's nothing like after even anybody who gets out of jail or prison, like you have a felony on your record, and there's nothing to like reintegrate people back
Right,
into
right,
society.
right. Yeah, that's right, and it becomes a strike, and it's something they can't oftentimes overcome,
Right.
and so they're just kind of relegated to entry-level jobs and low-paying jobs, and because of the lack of affordable housing,
Mm-hmm.
it's just hard. It's
Right.
hard, and so they end up homeless time and time again.
Or back in prison.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to students who want to follow in footsteps like yours?
I would say get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I would strongly urge everyone to get a master's degree. That will take you so much further than
Right.
just a bachelor's degree, and to be open to learning all that you can learn, stay on top of current practices and current theoretical approaches. The field has changed over time, over the last 20 years, and so we're doing things different.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of evidence-based models that are out there that it's just good to be on top of that, and to be open to diversity and different philosophies about how to work with folks and how to serve others.
Do you think having an open mind in general is just like a big thing?
Yep, being open and looking at the clients we serve as intelligent, competent individuals who
Mm-hmm.
can make decisions for themselves, because I've been doing this a long time, and in the beginning, we as professionals, we thought we knew what was best. We needed to tell them how
Right.
to live their life, but that's not the case. I mean, everyone has a dream of how they want to live their life, and so we should respect that and allow them to live out that dream or that vision for themselves, and not do it based on what we think they should do and how we think they should do it. So being open and believing in everyone's ability to make decisions for themselves.
Okay. Can you identify up and coming professionals who are making their mark in your field? I mean, even within like your organization, do you see potential and?
Yes. I mean, there are a few people like in Cleveland that I've worked with. Uh, African American men. There's a gentleman that I worked with for a few years. His name is Martin Williams, and he's director of case management services for a large organization. There's a lady I work with that's kind of worked her way up and is continuing to move up, and that's Sonia Tompkins. She's currently director of program operations for Volunteers of America. That's all I can think of right now.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add about your experiences, life experiences? Like, what was prominent? Like, what things were going on in the Black community while you were growing up?
Well, I think in the 80s, when crack was infused into the African American community, and neighborhoods just were ravaged by that epidemic, and I think that even 30 years later, that we haven't recovered, and we saw so many of us going to prison, getting life sentences, for the sale of crack cocaine, and I came up through that time, and it's just sad to think about what happened, and I just hope that at some point we would recover from that.
Yeah, so it was like the Black community and the poor neighborhoods were just left, and everyone turned their back on them, and then the people who were going to prison for the sale of crack and everything, they got bigger sentences than a white person would.
That's exactly right.
So,
and it wasn't just poor communities. I mean, I grew up in a middle class working community. With 2-parent households, and everybody had a job, and those were the neighborhoods that really, really took a beating. Really took a beating. So it wasn't just the poor neighborhoods. I mean, it just ravaged the city of Detroit. It was just it was bad. So
how do you feel? We get this question asked a lot in class. That do you feel that the African American community has made great strides now than how things were in the past?
I think that as individuals we have made strides. Like, I've managed to work my way up and be very successful, and my colleagues. But as a whole, I think right now as a whole, as a community, we're stuck. And I'm not sure what it will take to get us past that stuck point. I mean, we just have so many barriers, and the way the political environment is right now, we just have a long way to go. And I think about the disparity, the difference, in how we're viewed and how things are viewed, and it's all a matter of perspective. But as an example, now the opioid epidemic. It's an epidemic. It's people need help. People need treatment, and in the midst of the crack epidemic, that's when they started cutting back on treatment. Treatment programs went from 30 days to 2 weeks, and they wanted to they criminalized addicts, and Now it's a different
Story.
perspective. And, you know, my opinion is it's because of who it's affecting.
Right. It's affecting the white community. So now
And so
something
now
needs
it's
to be done.
right, and you know, you got the governor, and this is probably he's got a task force, and you know, they want more money for treatment, and we look at it and say,
Where
you know,
was the treatment?
you know, where was the government, you know, with their compassion
Right.
that they're attempting to show now, where was it then?
Right.
So, I mean, an addict is an addict.
Right.
So, and it's, you know, it's a shame of what's, you know, about what's happening. But I can't help but compare.
Yeah. That's understandable. Okay, so I am supposed to conclude the interview by saying this was an assignment for my Black
Was it?
Experience class.
I
Yeah.
was just talking.
And
Oh my gosh.
that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shannon.
Mhm.